No, this takes a minute to zero.
Kid with a real boxer, a real world champion boxer. That the only other time he was in for the fans to get mad with that was against Fury's Tommy Fury, but it wasn't that level, obviously, and all the size things you just rightfully pointed out. But he would have been in there with, it's
Gervonta, Tank, Davis has shocked fans with his new, bulked-up physique ahead of his clash with Jake Paul. Known for his explosive power and compact frame, Davis has elevated his training, packing on serious muscle that's got the boxing world talking. Recent gym footage reveals a thicker, more imposing Tank, fueling speculation that he's gearing up to match Paul's size and strength head-on.
So much about him fighting someone, fight somebody your size. His next opponent is, by far, the most credentialed guy ever fought actively in his prime. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. He fights at 135.
In preparation for his clash with Jake Paul, Gervonta, Tank, Davis has transformed his training into an all-out war on weakness. He's combining intense strength work, heavy sparring, and non-stop conditioning to support his dramatic size gain. Reports and footage show Davis focusing on heavier resistance and compound lifts to build core and upper body mass, while still maintaining his trademark speed and footwork. His sparring sessions now feature larger, more physical partners, some even resembling heavyweights, to help him adapt to the power and pressure of bigger opponents.
And this Santa Cruz I hit the deck. Drink down, let it burn, baby, let it burn. Mind over matter, son, mind over matter.
This is the blues I'm
Ain't nobody doing no shit like this. Come in the desert. Nigga trying to stay away from the desert. He come in the desert.
when the night
Camera. Oh, see.
Light camera action.
And fighting for the light action. Cat.
Come on, Tank. Come on, Tank. Run him out. Run him out, Tank. Come on, let me get some. Dig down in there. Dig down in there. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Remember that gun on it? They got that gun on that tank. They go, time.
when the night is cold and low.
He ain't gonna keep you here late tonight. Good job.
It's been hard being away from my daughter. She actually here, she sleep. Just being away from her, it was a little touchy, but I know when I'm up, up against, I know that I got pay-per-view. I know I'm fighting a tough opponent, so really I know how to lock in. I know how to shy away from everything. I know how to, I know how to fool around.
I said, King Hut.
Nah, don't do that. I can't go on TV looking like that.
However, Jake Paul is naturally the much heavier man, with their bouts set at a 195-pound limit, and both required to wear 12-ounce gloves. For Davis, who typically competes around 135 pounds, that's a massive leap in size and power. The gap has sparked major concern among analysts, with many warning that adding so much weight could dull Davis's signature speed and explosiveness, the very qualities that define his dominance in the ring.
Move to Miami.
I think Jake wins.
Jake's just so big, dude.
I think Jake wins.
This is different because it's similar. It's similar to Logan versus Mayweather, but
Jake has better
Paul
boxing.
now obviously is way more advanced than where Logan was at that moment in time.
I mean,
Gervonta
it's
is
just,
fucking sick.
I mean, yeah. No, but dude,
Did you
Jake.
ever watch his highlights?
Jake can
He's
crack,
nasty,
man.
bro.
He's so sick.
He's
I love
nasty.
that guy, bro.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Hank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skill, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Hank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. No, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Hank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts.
UFC boss Dana White didn't hold back when discussing a potential Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis matchup. He claimed that few people are genuinely excited for the fight but admitted it could still benefit Tank. After a run of negative headlines and fading buzz outside the ring, Davis finds himself in need of a spark, and Paul's lucrative offer might provide it. White pointed out that while many dismissed the bout's legitimacy, it could give Davis a timely boost in visibility and income. Still, he warned that Paul's size, reach, and raw power would let him pressure Davis constantly, using his frame to clinch, lean, and smother Tank's offense. Though White acknowledged Davis's technical brilliance and knockout power, he argued that once a smaller fighter enters Paul's physical domain, those edges could fade. In his view, this fight wouldn't just test skill, it would test whether Davis can withstand and overcome the physical dominance Jake Paul brings.
Jake Paul to beat Gervonta Davis. This is not a fight that I'm excited for, at all. I would rather have Gervonta Davis fighting in a real boxing match against the likes of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Emmanuel Navarrete, anybody that is in the 135-pound division and around. That's where I want to see Gervonta Davis fight. However, we live in a world where everybody is trying to do things as big as possible. And the biggest fights possible right now, unfortunately for the sport of boxing, is an exhibition fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. So, I do like it for this reason, though. I like it because it is allowing Gervonta Davis to have a fight that is going to be big and that the mainstream media is going to have to cover, the mainstream media outside the world of boxing. Gervonta Davis has been, without a doubt, blocked, having venues blocked, having fighters, having other promoters paying fighters away to go different directions from Gervonta Davis. So Gervonta Davis was in a bit of a hole. And he gets an opportunity to fight Jake Paul for $200 million or whatever. I don't mind it at all. As long as Gervonta Davis comes back to the world of boxing after he gets done with this, hey man, you got your money, no worries. But you gotta love Dana White having the audacity to pick Jake Paul in this fight and says something to the effect that, hey, he was talking to Logan Paul and said, hey, when you were fighting Floyd, you know, there was this, you're a gigantic guy, big size difference. There was a time when Floyd Mayweather Jr. had an overhand right that landed flush on Jake Paul.
Bare-knuckle fighter and former UFC star Mike Perry didn't mince words when weighing in on the rumored Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul matchup. Perry blasted Davis for what he called a cash grab, accusing him of chasing money instead of real boxing challenges. He questioned whether Tank still has the same fire and hunger that once made him a world champion. In Perry's view, Davis choosing to fight a YouTuber-turned-boxer signals a shift toward fame and fortune over legacy. He even hinted that Jake Paul's work ethic and drive might now surpass Davis's. Perry's remarks hit hard, sparking fresh debate among fans about whether Tank's motivation is still rooted in greatness, or simply in the paycheck.
Jake is big, Tank has a lot of skill, but I don't think he's the same Tank that we saw the most incredible knockouts. We saw him, Lamont Roach performed great. They went to draw, and, I just don't know. And Tank walked away. I don't know if he loves it enough to beat a guy who outweighs him by 80 to 100 pounds.
During the face-off with Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis appeared unusually uneasy, a surprising sight for the typically confident knockout artist. Observers noted his tense posture, minimal eye contact, and forced calm, hinting that the size gap between him and Paul might have unsettled him. Facing the visibly larger Jake Paul, Davis seemed to grasp the scale of the physical challenge ahead. While some fans viewed his demeanor as quiet focus, others interpreted it as a flicker of uncertainty.
Very uncomfortable facing off. He just did. I've seen other face-off this Tank done. He gets in their face and they're intense and he looks good. He looked very meager up there. You've had 8 fights and you're gonna go tangle with Tank Davis. And the story instantly comes out. Jake is so much bigger. There is such a compliment to Jake within that insult. It is meant to be an insult. It is meant to take away from a potentially glorious moment for Jake. But where the compliment comes is it means the public believes he's going to win.
Teddy Atlas weighed in on the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis face-off, highlighting the stark size difference between them. The veteran analyst quipped that Tank is so much smaller, he need a ladder just to reach Jake's chin. While Atlas admitted that mismatches in style and skill are part of boxing, he argued that this physical gap goes far beyond what's reasonable. Comparing it to Canelo Alvarez moving up to face Terence Crawford, Atlas pointed out that even Crawford was never as undersized as Davis is here. In his eyes, Tank's lack of reach and natural size makes the fight look one-sided from the start, more spectacle than sport.
They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in the contract, but I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, all kidding aside, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but a little different. The size difference was, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping. And it made me think, and I'm going to ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm going to ask him, because I know he's an expert in this area, but it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Thunder Lips. He was Thunder Lips back there. And I thought I had it right, and it was confirmed to me. It's Rocky.
Shakur Stevenson didn't hold back when addressing the rumored Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, calling it a bad look for boxing. The undefeated champion argued that the matchup lacks real competitive value and exists purely as a money grab, not a test of skill. Stevenson stressed that the massive size difference between the two fighters makes it feel more like a spectacle than a genuine boxing contest.
Maybe he'll fight Jake Paul instead. What do you think of that?
I think that's terrible.
Why?
I get it, because at the end of the day, it's the money business, and you want to make the most money, but from what I'm hearing, he can make more money in a fight with me, and if that's the case, why not fight me?
Sure. Do you think he beats Jake Paul?
Do I think he beats Jake? Yeah.
There's a huge size advantage, though.
It is, but I think Tank got the skills to make sure he come out on top.
Do you think that Jake has gone better?
Yeah, I think actually Jake got tremendously better from the time frame that he started till now. And in the right situation, I also could see him become a world champion.
Really?
Leonard Ellerby explained that Tank was dealing with several personal challenges and didn't want to add more stress during that period. According to him, that lack of motivation is what prevented the fight from happening, despite fan expectations. Ellerby noted that Tank was prioritizing his personal well-being over competition, and distancing himself from Roach was his way of avoiding added pressure.
Tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired. that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it. And he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach. And that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight.
Jake Paul's approach to boxing often seems fueled more by promotion than pure competition. Instead of pursuing rankings or legitimate title shots, he carefully picks opponents who guarantee viral moments and financial buzz. From retired MMA fighters to undersized boxers like Gervonta Davis, Paul's matchups generate headlines and social media hype, keeping his brand constantly in the spotlight. By mixing entertainment with sport, he blurs the line between spectacle and competition, ensuring massive viewership regardless of fairness. The most debated aspect of a potential Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight is their stark size difference. Paul, who has fought bigger opponents and naturally carries far more weight, holds clear advantages in height, reach, and frame. Meanwhile, the 5 feet 5 inches Davis, who usually fights around 130 pounds, dominates divisions with his explosiveness and knockout power, but would be giving up enormous physical ground in this matchup.
Versus Tank Davis is actually happening. What the f is going on? I guess Tank is going broke because that's the only justifiable reason you ruin your legacy against a guy like Jake Paul. And yes, I do think Jake Paul is going to win. Tank Davis is a much better boxer and has crazy power, but he's 5'5", 130. That power is not going to carry over against someone who is 6'1", 210. And it's not like Jake is bad. Yes, his fights are boring. He says he's going to step in the ring and sleep his opponents, but the only people who end up sleeping are the audience. Mike Tyson fight. But at the end of the day, he's a big guy with power who's training boxing full time, and he has beaten some legitimate competition. Woodley, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, Mike Perry had a competitive fight with Tommy Fury, but it's crazy how particular Jake has to be when selecting his opponents. They have to have enough clout to be interesting, enough skill to be taken seriously as a threat, but at the same time have clear weaknesses and disadvantages that Jake and his team can exploit to win. Now that he's fighting an elite boxer, he has to fight someone 7 weight classes down. I mean, Tank could win if he makes Jake do a very aggressive weight cut, but I just don't see that happening. I got Jake by 3rd round TKO. He should put me on the co-main event and allow me to fight Francis Ngannou. That would be an easy first round.
MMA veteran Nate Diaz dismissed the rumored Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight entirely, saying he had no interest in predicting the outcome. Diaz called the matchup less of a sporting contest and more of a pay-per-view spectacle built purely for profit. He criticized modern boxing for straying too far towards staged, money-driven events, arguing that they erode the sport's integrity and tradition. According to Diaz, fights like this value entertainment over true competition, making it impossible for him to take them seriously.
Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Fuck no.
Gervonta is a great boxer, but he ain't gonna do.
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or?
No, I don't got anybody, but I don't think
he's just too small.
I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually. I'm not hating on the fight, but I think my thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing's turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. You agree? Last thing, White House card, like he said, you want Conor McGregor?
Yeah, but the whole thing's on WWE, so
right.
Like, at least that's happening and getting something to talk about, something to watch, and I'm looking forward.
Michael Bisping has voiced strong concerns over Jake Paul's decision to face Gervonta Davis despite the extreme weight gap between them. He noted that Jake is preparing to fight someone nearly 100 pounds lighter, which defies the sport's natural balance. Bisping also referenced Paul's bout with the 58-year-old Mike Tyson, a fight many already viewed as questionable. as bizarre matchups continue to dominate headlines. The rumored Paul vs. Davis fight, in Bisping's eyes, exemplifies this troubling trend, where promoters favor spectacle over substance, prioritizing hype and entertainment instead of meaningful, legacy-defining contests.
65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word, whoa, 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 stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers.
So what do you think? Is this matchup an exciting crossover event that pushes boxing into new territory? Or just another publicity stunt that chips away at the sport's credibility?